Leading tech companies like Oleksii, Radarstack, and Courier grow a little bit different than the others. They take advantage of content and promote it to their ideal audience to be able to grow faster and more efficiently. Today we're going to talk about how exactly they do it and what exactly does that mean. My name is Oleksii. I'm the principal at Wizard On Demand, which is a technical content marketing agency. We're going to cover the definition of technical content marketing. We're going to look at some of the activities that go into it. We'll look at examples and outcomes that these kinds of companies get from it. So let's dive right in. So before we get into it, let's quickly cover the terminology. So what is technical content marketing here? If we look in the dictionary and try to find the term technical content marketing, we will not really find anything. There's not really a set definition for what this actually means in the industry. However, what we can do is we can find these three terms separately: technical, then content, then marketing, and have a look at them all and see how they combine together. So let's do it all one by one. Starting with technical. So what does technical mean? So according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, technical means basically specialized, as well as related to a scientific or technological subject, and practical, subject organized on scientific principles, right? So all of these things mean technical. And so we can extrapolate it to say what is not technical. So for example, it's something that's not practical or not organized on scientific principles, not specialized, as in general, or not related to science or technology would be considered not technical, right? And so technical is practical, organized on scientific principles, specialized, and related to science and or technology. Next, let's have a look at the word content. So what does content mean? Again, Merriam-Webster saves us. The principal substance, such as written matter, illustrations, or music offered by a website, is the definition there's multiple definitions of content, but this definition is the one that is closest to the internet era, right? So anything such as written matter, illustrations, I would add to it probably other kinds of graphics, photographs. Instead of music, we could also add podcasts or voice recordings. We could say video, right? Offered by a website. All of this can be considered content altogether. Cool. So now we have marketing, the last one of three. So what is marketing? Kind of a trivial question, but it's still helpful to have some sort of definition. It's going to be helpful a little bit later when we put all of these together. The one that I like is actually not from the dictionary this time, but from Seth Godin. So Seth Godin, he's a leading marketer, world famous author. He's saying if you need to persuade somebody to take action, you're doing marketing. Right? I think this is a really helpful definition that is going to allow us to put all of these together, right? So what is technical content marketing then, based on all of these three definitions? Persuading someone to take action, which is the marketing side that we covered from Seth Godin, by using content such as written matter, illustrations, or music offered by a website, which is content, right? So we now have content marketing covered. And then where the content is organized on scientific principles, covers a practical matter, and is related to science or technology. Right? So if we put all of these together, we have the definition of technical content marketing. To illustrate this, let's have a look at a couple examples. So a video that explains a mathematical concept and persuades the reader to practice math would be technical content marketing, right? Because it has a goal of changing somebody's habits in terms of practicing math, right? It uses a video, which is one of the formats that we mentioned, in a way that is related to science or technology. Right, so it quite fits our definition. And then in the illustration that shows a trajectory of a spaceship and persuades the viewer to become an astronaut, also a useful example of technical content marketing, right? The goal is a bit different. The goal is to have more people become astronauts, but the means to getting there is also technical content marketing, right? So talking about the scientific matter or technological matter of building spaceships or calculating trajectories of spaceships, things like that. And then the final example is a practical blog post that provides a solution to a software problem and persuades the reader to sign up for a piece of software, right? So this is, I would say, a more common example compared to the spaceship graphics, right? But solving software problems and then using those solutions as a way to get signups for software products. Those are all valid examples. In the software space, there's probably the most technical content marketing compared to other industries. There's all kinds of things from blog posts to articles and web pages to documentation to videos to wikis and forums, lots of different formats. The reason why there's so much information around software in the world is probably due to the fact that software companies are internet native, right? And so anything that they put out in terms of documentation or information about their product even, or about the industry, is going to be in the digital form, in the form of web pages, right? So we end up with quite a bit of technical content marketing out there produced by the software space. Let's talk a bit about the outcomes that companies that do, or organizations that do technical content marketing are looking to achieve. So why do they actually do it? The end goal that many of them pursue is this kind of having somebody take some sort of action, right? So they're about the marketing part. And the actions could be quite varied. So in some cases, they're looking to increase the number of deals they win, right? So more revenue. Sometimes for a piece of software as a service, for example, could be signups or upgrades, could be website conversions, such as potential clients submitting their contact details or scheduling a demo, or scheduling a meeting with a specific part of the sales team. Could be also a goal of increasing usage or adoption of specific product features, right? So if your software as a service application is large and you want to increase usage of a particular feature, then technical content marketing could be used for that. And then for, let's say, open source or free software, you could look at kind of how many people use your software, right? And where do they use it in production? Do they use it frequently? Those kinds of things. All of those you can affect with technical content marketing. There are a couple of other goals also that many companies in the space are going after. So this is kind of not really related to sales or getting new customers or even having people check out your software. But this is about visibility, right? So the screenshot I'm including here is of Hacker News, which is a very popular news website in the, let's say, software startup space. Lots of technical founders, developers, lots of technical personas read the site. And so if you are looking to gain popularity as a developer-focused tool, for example, you probably want to be featured on this website, right? And ideally near the top. This could be one example of a thing you might be after. Many companies are going after organic traffic growth, right? So here's a chart from Google Search Console that indicates how much organic traffic does a website get, right? And you can affect this chart, and in this case, the company has been affecting this chart by publishing content that speaks directly to their audience, that is of high quality, that solves problems or answers questions for potential readers, right? And as a result, they get more traffic, they get more opportunities to sell or showcase their software, right? Perfectly valid. And then another way to look at this would be to look at the speed of technological development, right, and adoption of technology. So in the chart below, I'm showing the progression. You might have seen this chart before, the progression of any kind of technology through the different adoption cycles, right? So you start with early adopters, and then you kind of software gets used by more and more people over time. And then there is a gap in between, right? So you have kind of some of the earlier groups using the software, and then you have a gap before it actually goes into the mainstream, right? And then many software products or services never actually make it into the mainstream, right? And so the one of the goals that you can try and affect with technical content marketing is to try and bridge this gap, right? Or try to help more people from the later stages, from the later groups, understand what the technology is about, because they might not have as much knowledge or motivation as the early adopters. They need different kind of data, different kind of information to be able to sign up or be committed to using your software. And so you can use technical content marketing to kind of bridge this gap, right, and increase the likelihood that more people are actually going to use your technology or software or anything, and increase the likelihood or like the chances of actually going into the mainstream. In my opinion, not all software companies need to do technical content marketing with the emphasis on technical, but also there are some companies that don't really need this at all. I will talk about that in a second. But basically, if you are developing complex software or software that solves complex problems that are not super easy to understand, then technical content marketing might be for you. However, if you're only solving problems that are a bit more generally applicable, right, problems that lots of people care about, lots of people understand, that don't really require any kind of specialized knowledge, then that no longer kind of fits into the definition that we offered before of technical content marketing, right? Then you might do just content marketing, but you kind of drop the technical component from there, which is perfectly fine. Now, who should be doing technical content marketing, right? So the organizations that stand to benefit the most from this kind of work are startups, right? Startups that are developing completely new technologies that haven't really been seen before in the specific format that they're making them. Small, medium businesses also, they are usually engaging in something that's new or innovative. I'm adding here enterprises that are launching new product categories. So this is a bit tricky because enterprises in general don't necessarily need to do content marketing to get more customers and to increase sales, because they usually have existing products that are quite popular. They have existing customer bases, right? So they can go to existing customers and then sell new products to them through sales channels and elsewhere. But in some cases, enterprises that are launching new products and are innovating, maybe it can be helpful to do some technical content marketing to help them kind of sell those innovations to their customer base that might not understand them right away. And then technology and nonprofits, of course. So technical content marketing does not have to be commercial, right? It can be absolutely non-commercial. The only goal there is to the goal must be to enact some sort of change, right? To have people sign up for something or have people change their behavior in some way, right? Which I think is perfectly appropriate for the nonprofit space as well. Which individuals should run technical content programs at these different organizations? Frequently, it is the marketing department, right? So a marketing leader, such as a chief marketing officer or a VP of marketing or a director of marketing, somebody like that. Sometimes it's other roles like head of developer relations, or it could be a chief product officer running these. In a smaller kind of organization, you can, which maybe doesn't have a chief marketing officer or VP of marketing, maybe one of the founders or co-founders, right, is in charge of technical content marketing, because they might be in charge of all their marketing programs. And then in a small, medium business, it could be an owner, it could be an executive, right? All these kinds of roles usually are involved. Let's have a look at a few examples of technical content marketing so that you see how it actually looks live on the internet. So here's one example where the company is called DeepSet. This is an article on their website that talks about best practices in deploying NLP models. This is technical content marketing because it covers the technological matter of deploying natural language processing models, right? It covers specific components of software or opinions on how to deploy software correctly, and then it is presented in the form of a blog article and published on their website, right? So it fits the definition. Here's another example, which is a little bit famous in the industry, from a company called Tailscale. They are writing about NAT traversal, which is a technique in the, let's say, in the networking space. Tailscale's product has to do with networking. They're writing about networking concepts, and this way they're kind of explaining some of the concepts that are essential for their users in the form of, again, a blog post or an article on their site, right? So this fits the definition as well. Here's an example that is not written. This is a video instead. So this is one of the many kind of very high quality technical YouTubers who are helping lots of potential developers or even professional developers become better at programming, right? This is, I think, absolutely qualifies as technical content marketing as well. And then it can also be books, right, and things that you actually have to pay for. So it doesn't have to be freely available as blog posts or videos on YouTube. It can be also, packaged as a book available for purchase. O'Reilly is a large company that specializes on publishing all kinds of things in technical spaces, right? And then here's an example of a book, right, that is for sale. That is about covering deep learning, for example, right? This is also technical content marketing, perfectly fits the definition. What are the activities that make up technical content marketing? Let's have a look at those. So the types of activities that I like to identify within a content marketing program or technical content marketing initiative are these four. So ideation, production, distribution, and measurement. Let's have a look at them one by one. So technical content ideation, right? This is the act of coming up with ideas, right? So in order to do technical content marketing, you probably need ideas of what exactly you want to do. And the ways to come up with these ideas, there's a bunch of different approaches to doing it. But one way is to talk to customers and prospects. If you already have customers, if you have prospects interested in buying your piece of software or piece of technology, then you can generally ask them questions and come up with ideas for technical content, right? I think this is a great way. You can get input from customer-facing team members. So for example, if you have a sales team, you have customer support, you have developer relations, you can ask them questions about kind of what your customers care about, what kinds of questions you're getting asked in sales calls. And you can use that, again, to come up with ideas for technical content, basically answering your prospects' questions that these customer-facing team members have been able to identify and send your way. You can also get inspiration from others in your industry. So you can look at what others are doing, maybe in adjacent spaces or even in other industries, see how they are kind of addressing these customer pain points, right, and how they're addressing customer questions, and maybe you can find something interesting there that you can borrow, right? You can also look at direct competitors, and from them you can also kind of find some interesting ideas, borrow some ideas. You can absolutely talk to peers at conferences, for example, or in informal groups and find out what they think, and it's a great way to come up with ideas that way as well. The next part is production, right? So how do you actually produce the content that based on the ideas that you came up with, right? And the workflow is going to be quite different depending on exactly how you want to do it, depending on the format you're producing it in and the specifics of the industry you're in. I'm offering an example here of how we do it, right? We focus on written content for the most part, as well as illustrations and graphics, things like that. And so we kind of have organized it in this relatively linear workflow that involves a couple of people in the process, and it's just a sequence of steps that follow after the other. But your workflow can be completely different. Next, let's talk about distribution, right? So the third component. Once you have produced the content and you have, based on the ideas that you have generated, you need to have your ideal customers or prospects actually see it, right? It needs to make it to the key people that you have produced it for. And this doesn't happen automatically all the time. There are some companies that have very large websites or they have very large communities of users where they don't really need to do so much of this. But for most companies, especially startups, small and medium businesses, right, or even enterprises, as I mentioned, that are releasing their kind of new innovative products, they kind of have to do this, right? And in order to have people look at the things that they produce. And so you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can distribute in a couple of different ways. One is search engine optimization, SEO, right? So you can try and rank specific pages related to what your customers are searching for on top of search results. You can use pay-per-click advertising on platforms like Google, LinkedIn, others to show up for potential users, right, and encourage them to check out your software or other technological product. You can do organic social media marketing. So think about your company's leadership posting on LinkedIn and posting really interesting insights to have lots of people check out their profiles and hopefully your company's profiles, learn about your product and service offerings. You can do paid social media marketing, so not just post organically, but also promote that via paid. You can do community promotions, such as sharing articles or other assets within closed or open Slack, Discord, subreddit communities. You can include articles in email newsletters, some that you own or where you pay for access, or even organically if you have relationships with email newsletter owners that have, let's say, a couple thousand people in their audience. You can collaborate with them to include your articles in there because maybe they will be valuable to their audience. And then, of course, you can present at conferences and do lots of other things to share kind of your technical points of view this way. And finally, measurement. So once you have ideated, created, put out your content, distributed it to the ideal audience, you have to figure out if that has really worked for the results that you were looking to achieve, right? The way that you measure the performance of your technical content has very likely to do with analytics, right? And website analytics and other kinds of analytics. So the activities that you could do as part of this is setting up analytics such as Google Analytics or other, Matomo, other analytics suites. You can create dashboards based on this analytics data, other data, all kinds of data. You can correlate what your customers or prospects actually do with the analytics data, right? Because you might not have perfect knowledge of exactly, who is doing what in the marketing funnel, let's say, and you could use correlation to really try to understand what people are doing or like what most people are most likely doing. And then you can do some qualitative analysis, so not really look at the numbers, but more look at other kinds of feedback. For example, if you have a forum on your website that asks your prospects who reach out or book a demo, if you ask a question there of, how did you hear about us, right? You can extract a lot of really interesting data that helps with measurement from these kinds of forums, right? So looking at responses, as well as Net Promoter Score responses, other kinds of kind of more qualitative data is very interesting. And then, of course, you can just ask customers, right? If you meet them in person or you meet them on a Zoom call, you can ask them how they heard about you, or you can ask them about what content do they find valuable on your site. Is there anything that they have shared with other people on your team that maybe you have published on the blog? this is all valuable information, right? And so now if we look at all of these four activities, kinds of activities, activity categories, you could say, then you will usually see them happen in this kind of cycle. It doesn't have to be such a perfect circle. It is usually a bit more disorganized, especially if you're doing it in high volume. But you will usually see, some ideation followed by creation, distribution, measurement, and then going back to ideation, because this is a kind of consistent process that you have to go through in order to, consistently be getting results. All right. So we've covered quite a bit of ground. So we've looked at the definition, the outcomes of technical content marketing. We have looked at the kinds of examples of technical content marketing campaigns. We looked at the activities that kind of sit under this technical content marketing umbrella. Congratulations for making it through this video. It was, I feel, a bit dense on the definitions and terminology, things like that. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you found it helpful. Feel free to like and subscribe and share with someone that might find this helpful. Thanks for watching.